Hello, this is a quick recording of Octopath Traveler Ophilia single story. So, game pretty simple. RPG, each character has 4 chapters you need to complete. I'm going to be trying to complete Ophilia's 4th chapter from the beginning of the game as fast as possible. Unfortunately, this starts with a fair bit of cutscenes. Thankfully, this game lets me skip all of them just by holding B. So, like, the first couple minutes is a lot of cutscene and tutorial where we learn kind of the beginning of the story, what our character's like, what our character can do. Big thing our character can do is guide. So this game is kind of defined by its path actions. Each of the 8 characters have their own path action that allows them to do something on the overworld that'll affect the gameplay. So Ophilia can guide NPCs and summon them in battle, which actually is very important for most of the run. We are going to be using that for a couple battles that make a huge difference, but I'll explain that more once we get our first guide. So until then, it's just story. Ophilia can guide anyone that she's a high enough level to, and for the sake of tutorial, in this town, everybody is like level 1. But that kind of creates the difference between noble and rogue characters in this game, where noble characters have a guaranteed success on their path action as long as they're either a high enough level or spend enough money. Meanwhile, rogue characters will get away with like doing higher level path actions on higher level NPCs for free, but they have a fail chance, and if you fail enough time, bad things happen. We will be picking up 1 rogue character, and it'll matter a lot, actually, whether we get some of those chances on higher level NPCs or not, but for now, it won't really come into play because we only have our first character so far. The structure of the game is fairly simple. Every chapter involves a little bit of story and then a dungeon. A lot of the times there is a path to the dungeon too, so right now we're on the path to the Cave of Origin instead of in the Cave of Origin itself already. At the beginning of the game, when a lot of enemies are my level, I can just kind of run from them. But the game is trying to teach me the game mechanics right now, so I guess I'll explain. You can see that each enemy has a shield counter and some weaknesses. And essentially the way the combat works is called the break and boost system. So if you hit an enemy with their weakness, it'll take a notch off of their shield counter. And once that shield counter is at 0, the enemy will break. They lose any actions they have in the rest of the turn, lose all of their actions on the next turn, and have half defense while they're broken. So, very, very good thing to do throughout the run. Also, you can guarantee flee from enemies if they're broken. However, I tend to just take the random chances to flee anyways, because, especially this early, you usually get it, and it's much faster. That wolf really didn't want me to run, but by the time you get to the 3rd turn of attempting to run, you're almost guaranteed to get the run, so I decided to just go for it again. There's a cutscene here. This game's encounters are done on a step counter, so this cutscene is actually going to reset my step counter, and I won't get an encounter. Although I did take a lot of damage thanks to the 1 encounter I did get, so I'm going to heal before the first boss. Speaking of the first boss, here he is. So, the Guardian is pretty simple, however, it goes into the summon. So this first dude we summon, the Tavern Patron, has a 50-50 chance to either do Staff Attack, which is 1 Staff Slap, or Summon Winds, which does 3 wind hits. So as you can see, this dude's shield went down from 6 to 3, all because I summoned this dude once. I'm also going to take this opportunity to safety heal. I might not need to, but I took a lot of damage there. And yeah, so you're hoping for Summon Winds in this fight, because this guy has 6 shields, and you want him to get broken, and then when I get him broken, I'm going to be doing Boosted Holy Light, which goes into the boost system of this game. I explained the break. Boosting is, as you see on the top right where my character is, I have these little, like, orange dots below the character name, and those are boost points. So essentially, with boost points, what I'm hoping, or what I do is I can press R on the controller to add a boost to my attack, and that will either make the attack stronger in the case of most of my magic spells, or in the case of, like, my physical hits, which is, like, my standard attack button, it'll make it happen multiple times, which is really good for breaking shields. So boosted attacks are going to be all over this run. It's literally just like no gimmick, your attack gets stronger. You start a battle with one boost point, and you get a boost point at the beginning of every turn if you did not use any boost points on the turn prior. So BP management is a huge part of the run, because again, just of how much good damage boosting is. We're also going to get items called Energizing Pomegranates, which like is just a consumable item that gives you 2 or 3 boost points at once, which is really good. But at this point of the game, now that we're done with our first chapter, the game kind of opens up a bit. This game is kind of open world. It's kind of a good way to put it. You can kind of do anything in any order after you finish your first character. Obviously, you can't do a character's, like, 3rd chapter before their 2nd, but I can get the characters in any order I want. I don't even need to get all of them. It's very open-ended on what I can do, and that makes the run very interesting, because it allows not only for a lot of routing, but it also means I need very little grinding. I'm still going to be doing some grinding, and you'll know when it is, but for the most part, I'm mostly just going to be trying to get through the game without doing too much optional stuff. And technically everything is optional, but that doesn't mean it's easy to win the game with one character. And so the big part of this run is what characters you recruit, because each character, like how Ophilia is a cleric, has their own, like, class, obviously, their own path action, their own passive skill, and some of those are much more important than others. So now the next town we want to go to is Atlasdam, which is just to the east of Flame's Grace, where Ophilia starts. Because in Atlasdam is one of the most important characters in the game. Probably the second most in runs, next to the 3rd character we're going to get in this run. So this is Cyrus, and Cyrus is a scholar, which is kind of like a black mage. So he has AoE spells of 3 different elemental types that he can get, and you're going to be seeing all of those. But on top of that, he also has the Scrutinize path action, which is incredibly important. It's a rogue, so he can do it on any NPC of any level, although he can fail on higher level NPCs. However, in this tutorial town, he can't fail. All of them have a 100% chance, and that gets us some really good items. So I'm gonna grab a light soulstone, small and medium, as well as by Cyrus a quartz rod, so his magic attacks do more damage, as well as buying both of these characters pointed hats, so that they have slightly more elemental damage. I was checking my menu there because I mentioned soul stones. They're these really good set damage items. They deal set damage of an elemental type. So they're really good to pick up throughout the run. And the Shadow Wisp that is summoned by the Guardian actually has a 30% chance to drop one, And if it drops at 30% chance, then I don't need to pick up this one that I'm going to right before the boss. I forgot to check when I was actually fighting the boss, but I can go check this one now, so that's exactly what I'm doing. Or I can go pick this one up now as a backup. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm also defeating these two enemies as a tiny bit of a grind because I want this upcoming boss to give me... Or I want to end this upcoming boss with 30 JP. So I take out 2 enemies in the subterranean study. Before going into Russell. So this fight is also very dependent on the Summon Winds guy that we have, because Russell himself is weak to the winds. So as you see there, very good. And Summon Winds is also AoE, as you might have noticed during the last fight. It also hits these bubbles in the back. I got some pretty bad luck here. With the turn order, Cyrus is going to be breaking the bubbles on the second turn. So he actually wants to move before the bubbles. I'm going to be using Ophilia's turn to heal Cyrus here, because Cyrus is just kind of getting bullied. And Summon Winds. Okay, that is good luck. That is really good luck, actually. So I'm going to break the bubbles, and every enemy is going to be broken this turn. So Ophilia is going to use Soul Stone. So as you see, there's set damage. That's the small version. There's also medium and heavy Soul Stones. Or large Soul Stones, rather, that we're going to be using later in the game, you know, when we have access to them. But since we're in a very early area right now, you know, we don't get those super good items, obviously. That was a really lucky turn. I was able to use Ophilia boost to do exactly enough to break, and now I'm going to be doing Holy Light and using my other small Soul Stone that I got from scrutinizing the town, and that should be the end of the fight. If not, okay. I know what happened there. I know why, but it's a little unfortunate. It just means that I have to do a bit more damage before the end. Hopefully I get another Summon Winds. If not, it's fine. It's funny, but okay, that works. We are actually gonna kill on this turn, I think. Yeah, we should. This should be it. Perfect. Alright. Kind of funny fight. Usually you want the second stone to kill, so you don't want to have to do a third break, but it is what it is. I got an Ice Soul Stone drop there, which means I don't have to pick up a backup Soul Stone in a little bit, but that backup Soul Stone isn't even, far away, so it's just a small time skip, and I don't want to go back in the dungeon. I want to go up here. So, when you pick up a new character, you can actually skip most of their Chapter 1. As you saw with Russell, you still need to defeat a character's Chapter 1 boss in order to get them in your party permanently outside of the town. But when you pick up a character, you can skip their storyline up to the point where you... fight their boss. So now I'm going to teach 2 skills real quick. Luminescence on Ophilia and Lightning Blast on Cyrus. Both of those are kind of backups in case I get a annoying encounter in Atlas Dam Flats. That is the opposite of an annoying encounter. So this is it's a rare enemy that is kind of like a Metal Slime if you play Dragon Quest. It is a very rare enemy that is very tricky to kill. However, it gives you a lot of experience and job points, which is very good. Usually what you do in this point of the game is you go to a side dungeon called Whistlewood and grind out... and you'll grind in Whistlewood for an encounter that gives enough JP to give Cyrus a second skill. However, since I got a Kate, that gives way more than enough JP. I used the light medium Soul Stone that you usually use in Whistlewood just to defeat that Kate turn 1, and used its experience to teach Blizzard. Blizzard is a really good skill for the final boss of the game. However, when you teach two new skills to a character, when a character has enough skills of a certain class, they get a support skill, which support skills are like passives that are really good. And the first scholar support skill, which Cyrus is a scholar, is evasive maneuvers, which I mentioned earlier that this game's encounter rate is on a step counter. Evasive maneuvers basically adds a multiplier to that step counter, meaning that I can now go much, much farther in every screen without running into an encounter. So that's usually why you do the grind in Whistlewood. Whistlewood is like this 10 level higher dungeon that's really good for just picking up 100 JP, but I got super lucky with that Kate, and I got to skip going to Whistlewood, which is good, because Whistlewood is a very scary, annoying area where not only can you not get the encounter you need, but it's also, like, very... you're very likely to get caught by surprise, which I don't think has happened to me yet. When you get into a battle, usually there's a factor based off of the level of both you and the enemy, or rather the area is what holds the level, not the individual enemies. As you can see at the bottom left of the screen, North Rippletide Coast is danger level 4. But, you can either get caught by surprise, which means you can't do anything on turn 1 of the battle, or you can catch the enemy by surprise, which means they can't do anything on turn 1 of the battle. Whistlewood, because of how much higher level it is at the point you go there, is very likely to catch you by surprise, which is why that Kate is incredibly lucky. If you get a Kate early enough into the run, you can actually change your route entirely, because you have enough JP to get the Scholar Shrine and get evasive maneuvers without needing to get Cyrus. However, since that Kate showed up for me after I got Cyrus, I'm just going to kind of show off the normal route. It's just that I'm going to have a little bit of extra experience because of that lucky encounter. So this is our third character we're going to pick up in the run. And actually our final one. This game lets you have up to 4 characters in your party at once. However, this run actually will not be picking up 4th because of how much time it takes to pick up the 4th. So this is Tressa. She is a merchant. Merchant is an incredibly good class in this game because of one skill in particular it has called Hired Help, and I'm going to be safe and just break these birds because I can very easily before attempting to flee. With the Kate experience, there is a chance that I could have fleed. Like, the chance to flee is much higher than usual in this part of the game, but with Tressa being level 1, it's actually kind of still not the best chances in the world. But Merchant is an incredibly good class in this game, for a reason we're not gonna see for a little bit. But against the bigger bosses of the run, the Merchant is absolutely required for a skill that it gets called Hired Help, which I'll talk about now because I don't have much else to talk about. Basically, Hired Help, similar to Soul Stones, does set damage. However, instead of using SP or being based off an attack stat, it actually, there are 5 different tiers of Hired Help that cost different amounts of money to use. So, the big part of the run, in terms of getting damage, is getting the amount of money you need to just defeat every boss in the game with Hired Help. Also, I used some of the Soul Stones I got from the northeast portion of the map to just kind of destroy Nick and Matt there. They don't matter. So, a big part of this run is going to be using Hired Help. This kind of takes advantage of the fact that I'm only using this save file for this single story run, because using the amount of Hired Help that I'm gonna be using on the bosses is absolutely not recommended in, like, a normal playthrough. But this is not a normal playthrough, is it? So we get to do some very funny things. That being said, this is the last new character we're picking up, and the recommended level of the next chapter we're going to do, Ophilia's second chapter, is quite a bit higher than the ones we've been doing prior. So I'm going to pick up a bunch of items and money and gear before trying to tackle that next chapter. This is kind of where evasive maneuvers is, like, required to play this game fast. Because we would be getting into an encounter all the time without it. And that's just not gonna work out unless you're a high enough level to consistently run away from the encounters. So this is our first shrine we pick up. On top of every character having their own class, each of the 8 classes or jobs that the 8 main characters represent can also be found in shrines throughout the game, so that you can give that job to a character as a secondary job. Which means you can have a character with 2 jobs, with, like, all the skills of that job, etc. Like, all the support skills, too. So, like, that's why some runs will go pick up the Scholar Shrine, so that they can give a character evasive maneuvers without having to actually pick up Cyrus. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of step counter manipulation here. I mentioned that this game's encounters run on a step counter. I'm going to be picking up... or I'm going to be saving at this save point in the middle of Moonstruck Coast, and then quitting to title and reloading that save. And that will reset my step counter, meaning I can make it to the Shrine of the Traitor without getting into encounter. Which means that I can get a secondary merchant job. Meaning, on top of my Cleric, Scholar, and Merchant that I have in my party, I'm going to have a Warrior and a Merchant as well. So... now that that's done, I'm not going to be assigning them yet, because there's no real reason to go into the menu and assign the jobs now when I don't have enough job points to really get what I want out of the classes. But I will be... I will be doing that menu some point before the next boss. However, the next thing I want to do is go to Goldshore, which is actually where Ophilia's Chapter 3 takes place. However, as I haven't pointed out, but you might have noticed I've used a few times, this game does have a fast travel system that allows me to travel to any town I've visited. So by running into and then immediately back out of that town, Goldshore, I can now teleport to it at any time. Which means that when I'm ready to do the third Ophilia chapter, I can just teleport there. I don't need to run back, which is really good. Also, as you might have noticed by the complete lack of encounters I'm getting, going into a loading screen to a new screen, unless you are in, for some reason, a mansion dungeon, which this character never goes into, will reset that step counter. So I get those 2 soul stones and those chests in a certain order there to avoid having to kind of minimize my step counter when trying to go to this save point, so that I don't run into an encounter on this screen. Because this screen that I'm in right now, the danger level is 45. And despite getting that enemy that gives me a lot of experience, I am still only level 14. So I'm not in a good spot if I get an encounter on this screen. That being said, this town right here is very good. I'm not going to be able to do everything I want to do it immediately, so I'm going to be teleporting. I'm not going to be teleporting out, but I'm going to be tagging it so I can teleport there later. And then I'm going to go into a side dungeon before teleporting. You might have also noticed as I walked in that town that Tressa in one of the top corners picked up a lot of money. And that's a really good passive skill that Tressa has, where when you walk into a new area, Tressa will just kind of pick up money out of nowhere. Like that in the top left. And that actually does add up a fair bit of the amount of money you need throughout the run, but this run, and this route I do, is actually very safe on money, especially, again, since I got that cape, which drops a bunch of rewards. Money's not too much of an issue in this run. Obviously, I need a lot of it, but I know where it is. So now I'm kind of on my way to the second chapter town for Ophilia. I'm still going to be doing a tiny bit of looting on my way, but for the most part, I finished my out-of-the-way looting. I've gotten some really good items. I made it to Ophilia's Chapter 3 town. There's another one for some reason. I don't quite know why. But no, it'll probably run away. I will see if I do. But kill the enemies around it. So if it runs away... Yeah, it ran away. Alright. I didn't want to use an extra item killing that one, but that would have been funny. I actually should have. I realized I should have now, but I'm not going to worry about it. This run is already weird. That's Octopath for you. There's a lot of things. In theory, a lot of fights and a lot of events are kind of scripted, but there are a lot of things that can very easily kind of throw you on your head, even with just slight variances in route. So you kind of have to not just know a script to complete a fight, but also have a general idea of what your backup is. And a general idea of what your goal in the run is. Which that one was a little bit of a blunder on mine. But we'll live through it, you know? It's nothing too bad. I'm gonna pick up a gold coin here, which is literally just like a money item that you can sell for money if you find it. So now we're in the bottom left area of the map here. We're in the Clearbrook and Saints Bridge traverses. The Saints Bridge traverse... Oh, I messed up. The Saints Bridge traverse is actually a tiny bit notably high level, so if I get into an encounter here, there's a very real chance I will fail to flee. Somehow, despite messing up my movement, I didn't get into an encounter, though, which is very lucky, but, I mean, that's good. And now we're going to start Ophilia's Chapter 2. Something to point out, actually, which you might have noticed about that menu selection screen, was the presence of the third, slot there. The Tier 2 towns, which are... No. The Tier 2 towns, which are the ones I'm in right now, actually have 2 stories in each of them. There's a Chapter 2 in each and a Chapter 3 in each, with the exception of, like, one town that only has a chapter... that has 2 Chapter 2s, and the town that has 2 Chapter 3s, but that's neither here nor there. So these towns actually see use in 2 different stories, but obviously I only need to do 1 Chapter 2 in this run, so that, again, won't come up. You actually need to go over here. And this is where Cyrus being the rogue comes into play, so if you fail a path action with a percent chance 5 times in the same town, you lose reputation and have to pay the tavern keeper to let you do path actions again. Fortunately, I got both of the path actions I needed in this town without... what's it called? Without running out of reputation. So I'll be able to complete the run fine. There's this, like, backup route you need to do with, like, getting a little bit extra money, because it costs money to get your reputation back. But again, thankfully I don't need that. I got all my items. And now we're gonna head into the Mirkwood Trail. Which, surprise, surprise, leads to the Mirkwood. Which is where the second Ophilia boss is going to be. I'm going to be doing a tiny bit of grinding with some of the soul stones I have, followed by the second boss. So I guess I can take this time to explain the story a tiny bit. Basically, Ophilia is on a pilgrimage to these 3 big churches across the continent because she's a cleric of the town of Flamesgrace, which is usually, like, where that pilgrimage starts. But she's adopted to the main family of the bishop. But the main kind of bishop falls ill, and Ophilia goes so that the, like, blood daughter of the bishop can stay with her father. Which is kind of the plot of Chapter 1, is... The plot of Chapter 1 is to get the flame from that cave. This plot is just, like, helping some kids that are fighting with each other after she lights the church in this town. Nothing too spectacular, but here, actually, I need to do some things. So after I get enough JP here, I'm gonna do... some menuing. So I give... There we go. So I give Cyrus Merchant and give him the first merchant support skill, which is Endless Items. Which is kind of like a freebie from Super Mario RPG. It's a 25% chance whenever you use an item to get that item back free of charge. And then I make him a warrior and give him Spearhead, which is a spear attack that makes him... that also moves him to the start of the next turn, like this. You can see in the top, he moved to the start of the next turn. And then I gave Ophilia Merchant and gave her Endless Items and... And then I also gave those same 2 merchant skills to Tress. And then I equipped Endless Items on all of them, because that's kind of what you need. I didn't get any endless items procs on this fight, which is a little unfortunate, but that's fine. Now you're going to see the real power of Fire Health. This is the highest tier of Fire Health veteran soldiers. It's kind of good. I also used a default merchant skill that I have not explained called Collect. Collect essentially does the same thing, or doesn't do, well, not the same thing. Something I haven't explained yet. Collect essentially gives you a chance to take money off of an enemy. And in the context of boosting just raises the chance to get a collect. So that's why I full boosted that collect to get a 100% chance to get the money drop off of that enemy there. And now that that chapter is done, I'm going to go to the city of Grandport, which is the Tier 4 city, or the Tier 3 city, rather. So not where Ophilia's Chapter 3 takes place, but actually where Tressa's final chapter takes place. In the kind of lore of this game, this city is in the middle of a giant, like, as you can see, like a giant fair. So there are a lot of people here selling really good items, as well as some really good amounts of money that are going to make fighting the last two bosses of the run possible, really. Once I get this item, though, I'm going to go to Goldshore, which is where the actual Chapter 3 is, and we're going to start that. We're going to leave the town at some point, and I'll talk about the reason why, but before I do that, we'll go through a little bit of the story here. I'm going to do some scrutinizes in order to get some items. And I'm also going to get some chests. I also scrutinized somebody on Goldshore Coast way earlier when I was going to Grandport for the first time. And that gives me a side quest bit of knowledge that I can turn into this guy to get $11,000, which is a lot. Really good in this run. So there's the reason I did that. I don't want to go down just yet. I do want to continue the story here. This town is also kind of similar to Grandport, very full of good loot. On top of all the money and money items that I'm taking in this town, there are also 2 large soul stones I get. One is right here next to this boy. The other is down. This is actually where Ophilia's story really picks up, and it's one of my favorite stories in the game. Basically, this kid delivered a letter to the bishop saying the bishop should give the flame that we need to give to the churches to somebody who kidnapped their daughter. So, kind of juicy drama, isn't it? However, to that town, in order to get out of there quicker, I'm going to teleport to Saints Bridge. Not only so I can warp back to the entrance of that town when I need to, but also to buy empowering bracelets. One of the scrutinizes I did in this town earlier put more items in this shop. And one of those items were empowering bracelets, which are these charms I can equip 2 of on each character that gives them 500 extra max HP. So now all my characters have 1,000 extra max HP. And I also I bought a charm robe from the shop so that Cyrus can survive an attack that the final boss does that he usually can't. And I also bought the other scrutinize I did in Saints Bridge was to lower the NPC level in the area so that I could guide them with Ophilia easier, so that I could guide this dude, the Worrywart, who is going to be very helpful in the Chapter 3 and 4 boss fights. Speaking of, we are in the Seaside Grotto, which means we're almost at the Chapter 3 boss fight. I do need to grab this save point here. And and then do another save and quit reload. This isn't even the last one we're going to do. The dungeons in Ophilia's route don't have a lot of those. Also, the timing that I pick up this guide is important because Ophilia's chapters 2 and 3, and even 1, but that's before I can do anything, have a moment where I'm required to use her guiding path action. So at this point in the game, and you can only guide one NPC at a time, so usually you have to drop whoever you're guiding in order to guide the NPC in the story. But from this point onward, I never need to do that again, so I can use this guy I have now without fear of dropping him. This guy that I have, the Warrior, has a 1 1/3 chance to do inhibit defenses each turn, which is a really good skill that lowers both defenses, both like physical and magical defense, of every enemy on the turn for 3 turns. Wait for this guy. Yeah, so we're not getting another one, but that's fine. So now these, both of these guys are going to be broken. I'm really hoping for that 1-3 now, because I haven't gotten it in the last 2 fights there. There it is. Perfect. So now that both of their defenses are down, the higher health veterans are going to do even more damage. Oh, they're dead. Okay, interesting. I didn't expect them to die so fast. Oh, I see why. Okay. So... interesting. I'm gonna grab a few backup soul stones, because I have not gotten any endless item procs, which are important. Endless items is quite good. So I'm grabbing that Thunder Medium behind the tree, and I'm gonna... I don't know if I need a backup large, but I'm gonna grab one anyways. I'll check my menu before I warp out. If I have 2 larges, I should be fine. I have 2 larges. Alright, I should be fine. So now we're headed to Ophilia's final chapter. The 4th and final chapter in Whispermill Flats, or in the town of Whispermill, rather. But this string is very long, and I'm gonna get an encounter, so before I do that, I'm going to give Cyrus 1 more warrior skill before switching him to his merchant. I'm going to give Reflective Veil to Ophilia before making her a warrior with 1,000 Spears and Spearhead. And then I'm going to equip Cover on both of them. This is something that makes the final boss much easier. Cover, essentially, when a character is at low HP, a character with cover will step in and take a physical attack for it. It basically just kind of mitigates luck on the second turn, or not on the second turn, on the final fight, by making it so that, yeah, on the final fight, by making it so that my characters are less likely to die. I thought of a sentence. Speaking of dying, Tressa died in that enemy encounter, however I managed to get both of the enemies broken, so I'm free to run away. and I can just revive Tressa. I can probably use the inn in this town. The inn is incredibly cheap. And will heal all my characters' HP and SP to full. So now we're in the final chapter. I'm going to, I'll rest at the inn. Yeah, that cost like nothing. And now I'm gonna sell a bunch of things. And I should... I'll sell this just to be safe, but that should be enough money. It's kind of cutting it close. I used the Soul Stone a little bit early on the Mystery Man and Shady Figure, the Chapter 3 bosses. Usually you want one of your merchants to collect the Shady Figure, who is the taller of the two dudes. He usually died second, but both of them died on the same turn. And I kind of... neither of them died after the veterans, which tripped me up a little bit. Thanks to the backup... Or no, I didn't get a backup Soulstone. We might be in a little bit of trouble, but I mean, hopefully we just kind of aren't, smiley face. I'll be able to know when we're in the fight if I'm in, like, big danger, but for now, let's just get to that fight. I'm gonna save here. Not only is it right before the final boss, but I also want to grab a little bit of money from a chest, so I need to save and reload in order to reset my step counter. So I get 30,000 there, and now we're ready for the final boss. There's a small enemy fight before the final boss. So... I need to do... both my merchants do 2 boost hired help mercenaries, which is the weakest hired help tier. And there's cover in action. To break all of these cultists here. There we go. And then I need to use some soul stones to actually dispatch all of the enemies. That little glow that you just saw right there in Ophilia's hand is the endless items proc. So that's what I've been looking for when I want to proc endless items. To be safe, because my money is a little bit on the questionable side, I'm going to do 1 large and 2 medium soul stones to kill the cultists here. And all of my characters leveled up, so they all get fully healed. Good. That actually can be scary. If you get you can get a character who's not at full health, and that is terrifying. So now it's time for the final boss. There's a fair bit of luck in this fight based off of my worrywart and who he attacks in the first couple of turns. And he uses a magic attack and a physical attack on the first turn. So depending on what he uses can be an issue. But if I'm just a little bit lucky, this fight should be fine. Okay, that's a little bit scary. Alright, let's see what this guy does. He does for immediate axe attack, okay. So now I'm just hoping that the magic attack he does here targets anyone but Silas. And I was not lucky. Alright. That's unfortunate. Fortunately... no, there's no fortunately here. I think this is just bad. I can try and salvage it. That doesn't heal for much, but that's fine. I get an inhibit defense on this. So actually, this is interestingly doable. Yeah, this is interestingly doable, but like very interesting. I'm going to put a Reflective Veil up on Cyrus. When Matthias gets up, his 2 actions next turn. Oh, this is actually, like, super doable. Wait, okay. And I have enough money. Okay, good. Alright, this fight is winnable. And I think I already won it, actually, with the amount of defense down turns here. When this guy gets up, he's going to change his formation like this, and do a Black King. Tressa and Ophilia will live, and the Reflective Veil will make it so that Cyrus does not take any damage, and actually reflects the damage back. I'm gonna have Tressa use a Pomegranate on herself. And Ophilia is going to... Okay, I don't need more defense down, but thank you. Nope. Okay. That almost could have been bad if I didn't recognize my input got dropped. So now, this second break, I can have my merchants do super big damage with the veterans here on higher health, and combining all the higher health veterans I'm going to be doing with the large soul stones, he should go down this as a little bit of a good trade-off. With veteran soldiers obviously using... Oh, he didn't even need more damage. Okay. He just died. Alright, that's the final boss. Time is not directly when I defeat the final boss, but it's actually going to be after I skip the last cutscene before the credits, which in Ophilia's case is the second cutscene. So that's time. That's Octopath Traveler. That was a really good run. That is like the best case scenario in almost every circumstance. So, yeah, in terms of submission videos, I don't think it's gonna get better than that, in terms of just how good things went for me there. I got all the luck I needed. I had some really scary situations that I managed to save, and that was just a good run. With the 3-character inhibit route. There is a faster route that you get a Kate super early, as I mentioned, but in terms of the kind of consistent routes, because Kates are 3% encounter chances, this is probably the best one and the fastest one, so yeah. That's all I got in terms of this video. Thank you for watching. This was Octopath Traveler Ophilia's single story.